and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack, and this is your latest Manchester United news with a bit of a twist. Obviously, we didn't do a match reaction video yesterday, so we're going to be doing it tonight as well, and we're going to be talking about all of the talking points of yesterday's 1-1 draw with Ipswich, Ruben Amorim's first game in charge, and we've got a couple of the boys in as always. Chris and Ben are with us. They were obviously watching the game and seeing it in depth, where I just kind of caught the extended highlights of it in. But look, guys, we'll be talking all things about the game yesterday. Obviously, it wasn't the dream start that everybody was hoping for, but it's not the end of the world either. 1-1 draw and a lot of talking points to get into. But do smash a like on the video, guys, if you haven't done so already, and do get your comments in, hit subscribe if you're new, so on and so forth. But we'll jump straight into it, and we'll get talking about yesterday's game. Obviously, guys, you were watching it. Chris, I'll go to you first on it. You know, what was your overall opinion on the game? Obviously, a lot of excitement before it. Was it a bit deflating? You know, what way did you see it?
I mean, I was a little deflated going into the game only because I saw the lineup and I was like,
yeah. Well, that would have been that was going to be my first question as well. Would be Oshin is in. Good to see you, lad. It was going to be, you know, what did you make of the lineup?
I mean, I after looking at it and seeing it, I just basically told myself, these are the guys that have been in training the longest, and this is why he started them. And not to my liking, but at the same time, you know, that's what he was comfortable with. So, you know, you go with it. I mean, play-wise, we started off big. You know, first 10 minutes looked really good, and then we reverted back to the way we played before. I mean, that's kind of the way I saw the game go. You know, it was just like we were really good for 10 to 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden it was just like we saw a lot of what we saw under Ten Hag, which was ball side to side, you know, no real progressive passes, you know, just no real work at that point. I mean, there was a lot of running, but no real work. And then, you know, Ipswich got a hold of the game and got a hold of it. Yeah, pretty much. You know, and then Ipswich got a hold of the game in the end of the first half, and then, you know, and to be honest, the goal that they scored, I would have rather them scored the one goal that Onana made the save than the deflection goal, because honestly, I think if Mazraoui doesn't touch that ball, I think it goes wide.
Yeah.
So either way, they were going to score. It was 1-1. So, you know, I just look at it as like Amorim came out and said, you know, the team itself, everybody there had 2 training sessions together.
Yeah.
So what are you going to ask for? I just look forward to the next game when they have more time together.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Ben, what was your thoughts on it? Obviously, you know what I mean, we get a goal early on, and, you know, the lineup is a bit questionable. You know, are you coming away with it with more positives or more negatives?
It's a bit of a mixed bag, to be fair. I'd say 50-50.
Yeah.
I think it just proves as well that the new manager coming in is what we needed. It just shows that the players weren't down in tools to get rid of Ten Hag. It just shows that they actually need to get some work put in. And the way that we set out looked good.
Yeah.
The lineup wasn't the best, but like you say, 2 days, what do you expect?
Yeah. And he's basically going with the players that had the most time in training by the looks of it. Oshin, like we see obviously, you know, some of the things coming out that Ruben is talking about. You know, I've highlighted a few of them here as we go down through them, but he said, sorry, let me zoom in on that. He said yesterday, we have 2 ways, or we forget the new idea and think that's why I was brought in the middle of the season. We can try and cope, and next year we're at the same stage with the same problems, or we start now with a new idea, risk a little, suffer a little, and next year we'll be better at this point. We seemed to suffer yesterday as well, didn't we? You know, more than anything else, it looked like a bit of a struggle for the majority of the game.
Well, the second half was dull as dishwater. I don't think either team played in the second half. Onana kept us in that game with some great saves. I agree with you what Chris said. We had a great opening 10-15 minutes, and then we just kind of reverted to form. We didn't know how to break down the low block. We couldn't defend. Ipswich seemed to had a better idea of how to play against us. But that obviously comes from McKenna being there for nearly, 24 months now. and getting the identity on his team. And again, I agree with Chris that the 11 he picked yesterday was the 11 they had the most time to work with, and obviously tried to get as much of his system into them. But it was a dour watch yesterday. It really was a dour watch yesterday, especially the second half. And we just didn't seem to have an answer. I don't know if the three at the back that we had, obviously Evans isn't going to play there week in, week out. And I don't think Mazraoui is going to play the right side as a CB. I think he's more of a wing back. I don't know if De Ligt is the guy to play in a three. I don't know if he's going to work there. Only time will tell.
It's strange because he did play on the right side of a tree an awful lot with Juventus a few years back. But now he did have fucking Bonucci playing beside him, which makes it a lot easier.
I look, when Yoro comes back in and Martinez comes back in, we'll see what configuration they make. But I don't think at the center of a tree didn't suit him yesterday.
Yeah,
he might work better on the right side.
Well, that's a diabetes alarm.
That's diabetes alarm. I'll just
go on. You were going to jump in and say something, Chris.
I mean, I'll just push back on Oshin a little bit. Like, what did you see out of De Ligt that you didn't like? I mean, because the only thing I can say is that just like we talk about when, like when Casemiro is surrounded by people that don't know what they're doing in the middle of the park, like if he's got to make up for the fact that they can't play a high line because of Evans and Mazraoui's out on the right, like I have to push back. Like, I don't think De Ligt played all that bad. Like, I don't. But I
just think it was a new system. It was the first time seeing it. So I'm only looking at it as a game in isolation. He might come good there, but in yesterday's game, he didn't know where he was meant to be. He was too far forward at times. He was caught by the lap at least twice, and he was sent for chips twice by him.
Ooh, chips.
So I just think with the look, and again, it only goes with the team he put out yesterday.
Yeah.
So when he's there with Yoro and Martinez, it could be a different outcome. I think going into one game in isolation, which is all we have to judge Amorim at the moment, I don't think it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it. I'll be honest.
He mentions it here. He says we will have problems. The players will be confused sometimes. You know what I mean? And maybe we've seen a little bit of that yesterday.
I mean, I'll be honest. I think just like last season when you had Martinez and who else played in? Who do we have? Not De Ligt, but who was our other center back? Who is it?
Shaw was there for most of the
season.
Well,
but like when you have Casemiro, when the middle of your park is Varane, but like when the middle of the park is so bad, like because I'll be honest with you, Casemiro and Eriksen were terrible. They couldn't press to save their life. Like, I mean, you could give them an iron, they couldn't press. Like, it's just like they didn't do anything, and that I think that leaves you open because I think when you look and we tried to press forward, I mean, Casemiro, there was a time, and I think it was in the first half, like we had him up on their left side. They had the ball on their defensive third, and Casemiro was so late pressing on the midfielder that they got out easy, and the ball went to the other side. And now the defense is exposed because
in Casemiro's defense, he got there as quick as he could.
No, but I mean, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he got there because the guy made the run and he was late following him. Like, he just was like, his mind was like, well, and I get it. Everybody's confused. Everybody's trying to learn. And I'll take that. But I'll be honest, you want to talk about not having legs in the midfield, having Casemiro and Eriksen there. Oh, like.
Well, let me ask this then. I mean, it seems, from what I'm picking up from you guys is that it's not really a case of old habits, or am I right in saying that it wasn't kind of a, they were at least trying to implement what the coach was wanting them to do.
They did, but I think in the second half, like what Oshin was talking about, like Amorim said this in his post-match interview, is like at the end of the game when there's we're in stoppage time, we're playing the ball side to side instead of serving the ball in the box when we should.
Yeah.
Tactically, you're not going to score from going side to side. Like you have, and I'll be honest, you have to do that. There's many a times that you got to just serve the ball early and often to put it in the mixer and see what happens. I mean, Højlund touched the ball more in the second half than he has all season from making runs and doing things. Like I like the way Hoyland was because I don't want to say he didn't play like Gorkarez, but he's making runs diagonally and getting the ball and not staying central. And he was down on the right or on the left wing, like trying to beat people and make crosses. And like that's the most I've seen him run and get balls like that than I've ever seen him. It's like. But then also like in the second half, we had a time Garnacho was barreling down with the ball, and Delo decided like I was asking, make the overlap run, and he'll feed you. And what did Delo do? He stopped, and he stopped behind Garnacho, and it's like, and then the whole defense went, "Oh, thank you. We don't have to defend that now." Like one guy could mark two, and it's just like that's when you're sitting there and like Amorim said, tactically, these guys should know better.
Yeah.
And it showed because when you're on the counter, you make the overlap, and whether you give the ball or not, Garnacho has an option. Then he can cut inside and go to goal, or he can play the overlapping run because the defender has to honor it.
Yeah. It's just making the opposition think, really, isn't it? More than anything
100%.
else. Let me get through some of the comments here. We'll see what people are saying. D says, hopefully Highland, Diallo, Ugarte, Menu, Delict, Martinez, Yaro, Masraoui, Onana, the only ones that survive January or next summer for me. And Garnacho. Mark says, do you still do live watch along? I do. You're hanging me out to dry there now, Mark. But I do. But I do have other commitments. They're not as regular as they used to be. But we try and do as many of them as I can. D says, Amorim done more in 90 minutes from the sidelines in the hot seat that Ten Hag done in 3 years. Well, Oisín, go on, you're nodding your head at that one. Delve into that one and explain what that comment is all about.
I think I counted up 4 times where the fourth official had him step back inside the dotted line, which you never saw happen with Ten Hag. He was heading, it's the cliche, he was heading every ball, he was chasing everyone down, he was cajoling, he was harassing, he was bollocking, he was pointing, he was gesturing. All we saw with Ten Hag mostly was kind of biting his bottom lip, hands in the pockets.
Yeah.
And look, let's not hate Ten Hag. He won us 2 trophies, but it was great to see. And the players, I don't think the players knew how to react to it because they're so used to the silence there.
Well, we haven't. Solskjaer didn't do that. Van Gaal didn't do it. Mourinho didn't do it. Moyes didn't do it. You know what I mean?
It was great to see. And it was a flashback to Sir Alex being on the sideline, and that will, the psychological effect of that'll unnerve the opposition.
Yeah,
as well,
And I think it's the fact that he's a head coach more so. We're hearing this head coach more so than manager, where he's out and he's instructing players to be in a certain, like there was one I seen the Jamie Carragher on Monday Night Football there earlier on was talking about Casemiro and Eriksen pressing all the way up to the edge of their box, and the first time they didn't do it, and then the second time you see Ruben Amorim out and he's going to Casemiro, get up the fucking goal, you know what I mean? Get up. So it's good to see. It absolutely is good to see.
100%.
Let's see. D says it's on to Everton now, and he gets them all week in full training. Yep, absolutely. Mark says, as Amorim said, if we suffer now, we won't be suffering in 6 months. He has the perfect characteristics, and in some sequences, you could see what we were trying to do. Our press kept getting broken down by Casemiro being confused. Mark my words, by the new year, we will have improved a lot. And then he also says, Garnacho needs to improve. He's so selfish. Right, well, I'll go to you, Ben, on this one. Garnacho was one that I was talking about yesterday or during the week, that I was worrying about him being able to fit into this new system. What did you make of his performance yesterday? And did you think maybe he'd done enough maybe to keep his place for the next game?
No, I weren't great, was he? He had a few one-on-ones where Egg went through. He looked like he was flapping.
Yeah.
He didn't know what to do. That's probably just his age, to be honest with you. Probably get him on the bench and be an impact sub.
Yeah, take the pressure off him.
Yeah.
I get you, Chris. What do you do? You're kind of maybe disagreeing a little bit there. Do you think the one thing I would say about Garnacho more than anything else is I think his decision making needs to improve a hell of a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I understand he loves scoring goals, and who doesn't, but sometimes there might be just a pass on when you should be. But Chris, what did you make of him?
I'll say this about all of our wingers and forwards and strikers is that we need to dictate and not be dictated to.
Yeah.
Because like Garnacho, a couple of times he let the defender dictate where he was going to go and what was going to happen instead of him forcing the issue. And and to be honest, the second half where he was on the break and Rashford's coming up from behind him and stuff. If you watch that play close enough and they zoom in, he was trying to make the pass. The defender just slid. The pass needed to be lifted over the defender's foot. So, he was trying to make the pass. Could you say he needed to make it a little bit earlier? Maybe, but, I'm not going to. I think he played all right, but I think that yesterday was a hard game to judge everything because everything got broken down so easily that it's hard to understand what's going on because literally our chances came off a counterattack. We broke the first goal. We broke their press, and Ahmad barreled down the right side, and Rashford made a nice run. Got the goal and everything like that. And I'm like, well, if we can play like that, then fantastic. But then all of a sudden we forgot how to break their press. Like I don't understand what was going on. And honestly, I've never seen so many, and Garnacho's on this, but I want to go after everybody on this. So many bad passes that they weren't under pressure.
Yeah.
Unforced
errors.
And the one thing Amorim said, even before the game, is that we give up the ball before we give up the ball too easily. We win the ball and then we give it back. So like that.
Yeah.
And we saw it. That's the bad from last year or from the previous regime is that we give up the ball way too easily when we shouldn't be.
Yeah. And Oshin, in relation to Garnacho, what's your opinions on it? Is he gonna because I mentioned during the week he's not a 6, he's not a 10, he's not a 9, he's not a wing back. I don't think either. I think probably wing back is probably the most likely of positions for him. When we see maybe what Ruben Amorim done at Sporting Lisbon, where he tended to have one defensive wing back and one attack, a winger and a full back maybe play. What do you make of where he's going?
I don't think he did himself any great favours yesterday. I think the other wing was more productive. I think Ahmad was a bit more suited for the task, and that might be what you're talking about. Ahmad might play the more defensive wing back, and Ahmad might play the more attacking one. I would like to see him sit out for Everton, but getting back to that comment, I'm not expecting much for the Everton game either. I just want to give Amorim the time. Let's not put pressure on him. Yeah, he's got a week, but let's just ease into it, and let's not put a timeline on this. It's not an easy fix. And I wouldn't mind seeing 8 or 9 changes for the Everton game, just so he can see what he's working with and just give him a chance to see if there's more players suited to his style there after having a bit more time with them. Garnacho will probably see a lot more of the bench this year, I think. I think Rashford might just get in there ahead of him when Højlund comes back, just because of his defensive abilities. That's just my hands-up opinion.
Yeah.
I think Rashford's going to see the bench a little bit more too, because I think my early prediction is that you're going to see Højlund up top with Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount behind him.
Yeah. Well, what I was thinking was, we spoke about this, didn't we? That who was going to be the happiest player coming in, or seeing Ruben Amorim coming in, and I was saying it's going to be Ahmad, because we now know he can do a steady enough job in that wing back role, but that number 10 position is where he got Player of the Year for, Sunderland, where he tore it. Now I know it's a lower league, but Chris, surely there's a position in that number. I would be thinking maybe Ahmad and Bruno, or is that, or am I being, that number 10 just seems to suit him, coming in off the right hand side, but just being tucked in a little bit more and being involved in the play.
No, I don't. Maybe going forward, I think we'll see that, but I think we're going to see. I think Amorim's going to look at what, like Oshin said, what he's going to 8 or 9 changes, or I'd say 5 to 6. 8 or 9's a lot. 5 or 6, and you're going to in the next, say, 4 or 5 games, you're going to see a lot of different lineups, because you may see Ahmad and Bruno together at the 10, and that may work out. But he's going to give Mount a run to see what he does at the 10, or maybe Mount can play a wing back at that point. I mean, people are either going to have to, not shit or get off the pot, because it's either you're going to play a new position and you're going to do it well, or you're going to go sit next to the manager at that point. Or not next to the manager. You're going to go sit on the bench because the manager is in the box the whole time. He barely doesn't. He doesn't sit down. So, and he dresses a lot better than Ten Hag.
Yeah, he's a slick motherfucker, in fairness. Ten Hag going around like Michael Jackson with the big black shoes and fucking no socks on.
But no, I just think, Jack, I don't disagree with Ahmad at the 10. I just think, I think you were going to see, and the only thing is I don't know if he's going to drop Bruno, but if he does, you may see Mount and Ahmad up top. I think Rashford didn't do himself any. He scored a goal, yes, but other than that one goal, he didn't do a lot in that game.
Well, let's talk about Marcus Rashford then, Chris, because there's been a lot of criticism online from him. Watching the likes of TalkSport, keeping up to date with all of that, and not Dribble as well. But we're seeing, like Rasmus Højlund comes on in what? He comes on in the 68th minute, and in 22 minutes he has more touches than Marcus Rashford has in the whole game. Yep. You know what I mean? 81 seconds in, we're thinking the Messiah has arrived. Marcus Rashford is back again, and brilliant out of Ahmad, and he just looked uninterested again straight after that. You know what I mean? Not straight away after, from what I've seen anyway. The extended highlights and looking at stuff, he looked, and it's probably the most damning phrase you could say to a player, but he looked uninterested again.
I'll go back, and I don't know. I don't want to say uninterested. I think he's just confused, just like everybody else. I don't know where I'm supposed to be. I don't know what run I'm supposed to make. Which, to me, to be honest with you, is one of the most asinine comments, because we've all played this game, and you know what you should be doing. But
I know, but let me push back a little bit on that. His position is the only position that hasn't had a change of role when Amorim came in, the number 9.
Yeah, but like we said, we don't regard him as a number 9.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason why he played there is because he was not on international duty, and he had the most time with Amorim and everything like that, which is an indictment on him again, because you should already know where you should be.
But if we don't see him as a number 9, that fucking goal after 81 seconds looked like a fucking brilliant number 9's goal. Yeah. Where he gets into that 6-yard box and he gets a toe,
Mm-hmm. No, and I get that, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see him play, with a different structure. Maybe you see Rashford play a wing back. Maybe Delo and Mazraoui, they take a seat, because I was only thinking maybe he can play wing back, because it's not like they got to break down and be an outside back and defend. They just have to be in front. They just have to get back in numbers and do that. It's just a lot of running. It's a lot of running. If Ahmad could do it, Rashford could do it. It's not like you're going to have to stick someone and you're going to have to be fighting for tackles and everything like that. We know he doesn't do that, but you just have to be there to defend and help out and do those things. It wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't play back, and if not, then he's going to be struggling to get minutes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough one, because he doesn't, and like some other people said, maybe he just doesn't have the football IQ, and I don't know where you go with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because some of the runs that he should have been making, I don't understand why he's not making them.
Yeah. Well,
if it's laziness, then he needs to sit.
Yeah. Oshin, is there any resetting Marcus Rashford? We're one game into the new manager, and we're already talking about the same old story with Marcus Rashford. If there was ever a time where you would run and try and, get on the end of more things and get more touches on the ball and just be more involved. It's the first game of the new manager's reign. You know, I don't want to be overcritical of Marcus Rashford because I sometimes I find that there is there can be a bit of an agenda against him. But when we're talking about Marcus Rashford, we're not talking about him being in New York at a basketball game. I couldn't give a fuck about any of that. I'm talking about the 90 minutes when he's on the pitch, and he's not impressing, in my opinion.
But the phrase of the night is push back. I'll push back against that.
Yeah.
You're not. If I'm Marcus Rashford, I'm not going to New York. I'm staying in Carrington. I'm busting my bollocks running for my new manager. I want to take as much of his info in as I can. How does he want me to play? Where does he see me play? I'm not swanning off to see Chris to go see a basketball match. I'm staying in Carrington.
Yeah, but nobody was at Carrington. They had 5 days off. Even Amorim wasn't at Carrington at that time.
It's just a bad optic, man. It's just a bad optic. With last year going to Belfast, this year it just doesn't look good for a guy who's under so much criticism, so much pressure from a lot of supporters groups, from a lot of the press. Maybe not so much us here on the UCC. We're just looking at him as on the pitch, and he's not doing it there. So that stems from somewhere. Yeah. So if he's not doing it on the pitch, he's obviously not doing it off the pitch. And I put the question many times in the group: does he still want to be a footballer? I mean, he's 27 years of age. He's playing football for the last he was 18 when he came onto the scene. Yeah. So he's playing football at a top level for 9 years. He's had Van Gaal, Mourinho, Solskjaer, Ragnick. He's had 6 different managers in 9 years. Does he have it anymore? Does he want to be there? Looking at him on the pitch, he looks, as you said, disinterested. The hands going by the side, not chasing back. I would be concerned about him as a person, that his head just isn't there anymore, and he might need some time away from it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I also push back on the fact that the first half that he played with, he was playing with Casemiro and Eriksen, and Bruno was kind of non-existent in the first half as well. So the second half when Højlund was in. Højlund's playing with Ugarte, which is we all know is better in progressive passes, and then Bruno ended up dropping back into the CDM role because Mount came on and everything like that. So Højlund's minutes were vastly different with a vastly different team than what Rashford had to deal with in the first half. Because to be honest with you, Casemiro and Eriksen in the first half were non-existent. Didn't play the balls forward, barely played the balls to each other. I mean, I don't even know. I barely knew they were on the field, besides looking at them going, well, you're late on that one, and you're not running on that one. And, oh, look, it's number 14. Who is that? I had to remind myself. As much as I want to get on him about it, there's times he should have made runs and everything like that. But as a whole, the time that he was on the pitch, we weren't playing balls. It wasn't like we weren't playing well at that moment for the majority of that first half.
Well, Rashford was on the pitch when we had our best time, though. We all agreed we had our best spell in the game in the first 10, 15 minutes, and he was on the pitch at that time.
Yeah, but we didn't play like that the rest after that 15 minutes. The midfield didn't play that way. We didn't break their press in that 50 after that 15 minutes. The team reverted back into nothingness at that point. And that's what my problem is that the first 15 minutes looked good and he looked good and he made the runs and he did that. But then after that 15 minutes, it's like we lost ourselves again and we didn't know what was going on. The whole team, not just him, because let me ask this question, and I'll put it to Ben and Oshin about this. After the first 15 minutes, did you even hear from Bruno?
No.
I
think that's it, though, Chris. I think the problem is, I think Ugarte is going to be the biggest player that we're going to have this season.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
It just shows the midfield that. Well, I can understand him not starting. It's international, isn't it?
Yeah, the South Americans didn't get back until late. So I wasn't surprised he wasn't starting, but at the same time, I think that, like Ben said, I think he's going to be the biggest part of it, and hopefully Manu will be the other part of that for the time being, because they're progressive guys and everything like that. So I think that's what you're going to look for. But after and Oshin, you can tell me, after the first 15 minutes, our whole midfield and even Diallo was non-existent.
No, we were on the back foot after the first 15 minutes. I put their goal was coming after the first 15 minutes. It was they were bankers to score, but it's just I can't disagree with anything you say there, Chris. I really can't.
Yeah,
The midfield in the first half, after the first 15 minutes, reverted back to type, sitting back, being on top of the centre back's toes, and we just couldn't get out.
Mm-hmm.
Just to finish up with on Rashford, if we're looking at, say, his stats, and his goals more than that else, and if we're just looking at the league, because the league is what we want. We're not going to win the fucking Champions League. We're not going to win the Premier League either, by the way, anytime soon. But if we're looking at his goals in the Premier League since he started, 5 goals in his first season, 5 goals, 7 goals, 10 goals, 17 goals, 11 goals, 4 goals, 17 goals, 7 goals, and 1 goal. I mean, there's only so much you can do with a guy that his whole game is around scoring goals, because he doesn't do anything else, in my opinion. You know what I mean? If he's not scoring goals, he's not playing well. And I think Marcus Rashford has always been that type of player. You know what I mean? I don't think if he doesn't score, his head goes down. He's a confidence player, and I mean, them stats in the league are nowhere near good enough for a lad who's supposedly valued at 70 million and on 340 grand a week. You know what I mean? Now, I understand that this ownership. Sorry?
No, I agree.
Yeah. I understand that this ownership didn't give him that contract, and but I also think that this ownership won't wait around to move him on. You know what I mean? I go back, and I do think it will be very difficult to move him on, given the figures that we just said there. But I don't think Ruben Amorim is going to take any prisoners with him. I honestly don't. And I think it's going to be so bloody obvious if Marcus Rashford continues to play under this manager with bad performances. It's going to be so obvious that there's something in his contract that says he has to play. You know what I mean? Because we, and again, we don't know. We're only speculating here, but some of them things have been mentioned before, haven't they? Some people are saying he must have some kind of, playtime clause in his contract. But I don't think Amorim's going to fuck around. I honestly don't. I think if you're not playing, you're out. And especially with the new format, it kind of narrows down the options of people playing in certain areas. Whereas before we were saying we had 3 wingers for 2 spots. Now all of a sudden we've got, 3 strikers for 1 spot. We've got, 3 number 10s for 2 spots. We've got 2 out-and-out fullbacks. Well, 3 out-and-out fullbacks for 2 spots. Everything is narrowing. You know what I mean? I don't think the safety net is there for players to not be able to play well and still put on the jersey.
Well, I'll be honest. I think the way that Amorim plays, you can't hide in his system.
Yeah,
you can't, because if you don't run and press and do what if you're not in the right spot, you're gonna have this big spotlight on you, because you're gonna be the one that lets everybody out and everything like that. Like in watching sporting games, like they move as one team all the time, and it's just like, wow, like it's an understanding, and like he said, they had 2 full practices, 2 full sessions.
Yeah,
and he said, I mean, to his credit, he said that they were trying. It's just that they were thinking instead of playing.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
I get you. I want to finish up for the last maybe 5 or 10 minutes talking about 1 or 2 more individuals. I'll start, Oisin, with Andre Onana. I mean, what a turnaround he's after making of his Manchester United career, considering, 6 months ago people were saying we need to sell him, Yep. And I think, and I want to emphasize this point, because we'll move on to 1 or 2 other players that are probably coming under a little bit of criticism. That time is needed for everybody, really, isn't it?
Yep. Look, he cost us the Champions League last year. Look, we weren't going to win it, but he cost us the next group stage. And I think we could all admit to that he's made some really simple mistakes. But in fairness, even then he came out and he's man enough to say, that was me, let's move on. And he even said it, just give me time and wait and see what I can do. You haven't seen the best Onana yet.
Yeah.
And the last few games, even with our Ten Hag, he was keeping us in it. Yesterday, we probably should have been beaten yesterday if we're calling a spade a spade. We didn't do enough to win that game yesterday.
Yeah.
Lucky, some would say lucky to get the draw, but it's down to Onana. Onana made some unbelievable saves yesterday. Unbelievable. And I'm seeing a lot of people on Facebook and they're putting pictures up with David De Gea and they haven't moved on yet.
Yeah.
But it is time to move on. David De Gea is now playing with Fiorentina. He is not the goalkeeper that we need right now, and he wouldn't work in the Premier League. He wasn't working Premier League anymore. The game has moved on, and Onana's are going to be a first choice, hopefully, for 5 or 10 years. I hope.
Yeah. And did you see the clip of the goalkeeping coach warming him up? Did anyone see that?
No.
It was basically basically Onana was down on one knee. Do you know basically that kind of that starfish save that he made for one of them? It's basically that there's a big heavy goalkeeping coach after coming over with Ruben Amorim, and he was literally just kicking balls from 3 yards away from him, just lettering him, and Onana was just standing there like that. You know what I mean? Just to block him, do that kind of starfish save, and it worked. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But Chris, I mean, you got to have a good, strong foundation when it comes to a goalkeeper. And, I don't want to jump the gun on it, but maybe United have always struggled from goalkeeper to goalkeeper, historically. But I think maybe we might have got this one right. I don't want to jump the gun, but, I suppose, fuck it, let's jump the gun. when he's good, let's enjoy him. You know what I mean? Because he's good at the moment.
I agree. I mean, I don't have any problems with the way Onana played. And actually, yesterday, he played a lot less long balls up top. I mean, he was playing the ball short, doing what we want Onana to do, and not just heave balls forward into the space and stuff like that. Like, so I enjoyed watching him play yesterday. I mean, and I'll be honest, he came out and he won some crosses too. Like, he was big. Yeah. He came out on some crosses where I don't think De Gea, and all the De Gea lovers, De Gea would still be on his line trying to make a cat-like reflex save. So, I mean, he came out. Onana's not a small guy either. I mean, he's a big boy. So he came out strong and, and ran to the top of the box trying to spring a counter. So I'm happy with it. I mean, foundation's there. I think, contrary to what Oshin was talking about, I think once Euro and Martinez come back with the lick, I think we have a very strong foundation in our back.
And you know what? I'd agree. I think, I think the defense is I'm actually really happy with the defense this season, even though we're sitting in 12th. The big issue has been not scoring goals. You know what I mean? I think we've looked a lot better in defence this season. And some of the credit does have to go to Ten Hag on that one. Ben, I'll go to you. I mean, with Delo was mentioned as well by Amorim. About he was used to, passing the ball. I'll put it up on the screen here. He said he was used to passing the ball to centre backs and going inside and play as a midfielder. Now he has to stick to his position. I suppose it just emphasises how strict Ruben Amorim is on where he wants his players to be and how he wants his players to play. And you seen today, fucking Danny Murphy on TalkSport. My God, saying I'd be shocked in 6 months' time if United are still playing 3-4-3. What a fucking idiot. But I'm loving this kind of fuck it, us against the world. But Ruben Amorim, by the looks of Ben, is not changing what he wants to do.
No, why should he?
Yeah.
Like you say, the players that we've got now, have they ever had that? Have they been told that's your job and that's where you stay in? You do that and you do this. It don't look that way, does it?
Yeah, exactly.
So a bit of structure, that's what they need.
Bit of structure, yeah. And at least we know now that, there's no more excuses for these players either. You either do what the manager tells you, or it'll be quite clear from our standpoint looking in, you're not up to the job.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a bit like the confusion conversation. It might be confused to start with, but if he's going to each play and saying, that's your job, that's your job, that's your job,
Just get
It's gonna
Roy
sink
Keane
in
in to say
eventually,
that.
innit?
That's all you have to do. Just get Roy Keane in. He'll just say that over and over again.
I think he's still waiting.
And then lads who don't, he'll call him out to the car park for a fight.
Exactly. He's still waiting at the car park for the guy.
Deadly. I see you in the car park. I see you in the car park.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, but I mean, did you heard Amorim's interview? I think it was with Neville, or was it when Gary Neville interviewed him? Like Amorim came out and said he wants a Roy Keane in the team. He wants somebody like that.
Yeah.
And it's valuable that you have that person. And and I would be surprised if Amorim brings Roy Keane back in to talk to, and so maybe he beats the shit out of these guys. Yeah, absolutely. That's what the one thing I think we lacked on Sunday was a leader. We didn't have a leader on the field, a leader to tell you, hey, we need to do this and we need to go here. We need to press there. We need to, God love Bruno and everything he's done for us and everything like that, but that's not who he is.
Yeah. He does it a different way, doesn't
yes,
he? And I don't think they exist anymore, to be honest.
I don't know about that. I think there are. I'll be honest with you. I think it's a big ask, but I think when Ugarte comes in and he starts, because when he came in the second half and he starts, if you watch our midfielders, once they get the ball, they never turn and go forward. Ugarte turns and goes forward and goes progressive. And I think that's where, and you see him pushing guys and saying, go here, go there, go here, go there. I think that's the kind of player we need. And to couple with that, I think we're going to bring in someone similar to him. If it's not Mainu, because to be honest with you, everybody loves Mainu and he's great, but he needs time to sit and learn and watch and not trial by fire.
Yeah.
So even if we brought someone in that can play and then he can sit and watch, and he's going to get minutes, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't need to get all the minutes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of bringing someone in, Oisín, Joshua Zirkzee was brought in yesterday, and I suppose it's probably fair to say that he struggled again. You know what I mean? The manager says, Ruben Amorim says that Zirkzee has to understand to enter the box to help the crosses. He basically is saying that, I bring on two forwards, when it's 1-1. Amorim is basically saying I was trying to win the game, so he needs to learn to get into the box. Again, he was probably one of the players that I would have said he's probably going to enjoy working for someone like Amorim, but he's got a long way to go.
He's going to Juve in January.
I don't know how he fits into this Amorim team. I don't. He's not mobile enough. He has no pace. He reminds me of another Dutch centre forward we had not so long ago who just looks like he's running in porridge. just can't get the legs up. But look, he's there. What, 3 months? Let's not write him off yet.
Exactly. We just spoke about Andre Onana, didn't we?
Let's give him a chance. Nothing he has shown me so far yet has shown me he's going to be there beyond the end of the season. But let's give him till the end of the season and see how it goes.
Donkey, that guy.
But will he still be donkey when he scores a goal against Liverpool in the semi-final of the Cup and puts through to the final? I don't think so.
Yes.
Go on, Chris. Have your say.
I just think he doesn't fit. I don't even think he fit our last system, to be honest. He has no pace. He has. If you wanted to make him a target man, a target forward, so be it. But he doesn't fit the system. He can't run. He's 10 years younger than Casemiro, and he's 10 years slower. It's just he can't. And I can't say it's confusion because he doesn't know where he's going. I think he's trying to get there. He just can't.
Could he play in one of the 10s?
Why?
If you needed him, I don't know. Hello? Sorry, 1 second. Hello? Sorry, yeah.
Is that Juve calling? Yes, send him. I'll be honest with you, because my problem with him, too, if he plays in a 10, he's got to press. He can't run the press. He can't. He does not. And maybe he's just not. Maybe he has another gear that he's just not showing us, and I'll give him about 2% of that ability, but he's just not. I don't think he's built for Premier League. Honestly, after watching him play, shockingly got a Lukaku touch. Like he's here and the ball's over there. Like it's just like he gave up when he came on, he gave up to do these one-touch passes and he's not even close.
Yeah.
It's just like,
But on the flip side of that, if we give Anthony 2 years, that we have to give this lad at least one season. You know what I mean?
I don't have.
Yeah, it's breaking season. Just leave him this season and see how it gets on.
Yeah.
All I see is when he comes on the pitch, I see the movie Shrek and Donkey running on the. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna try to make a meme of it.
Not on my channel.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, let's just cut our losses at this point. If he wants to go back to Italy, let him go back to Italy and be done with it. And then, I mean, the rumors are that it's up to Koulibaly if he wants to come to us because PSG's ready to let him go.
Sure, that lad has only scored 6 goals in the last 30 games or something like that as well.
I think Xerxes scored 6 goals in his whole career.
I know, yeah, but fucking Jesus, Koulibaly can't score more than 6 goals in League in fucking France. What's he going to do in the Premier League? I know. And look,
Hey.
I mean, the one thing I would say is, you know, regardless of, you know, who it is or who we get, I think we're going to have, look, you have to buy your goals. You know what I mean? You just have to buy your goals. You're not going to get a 30 goal a season striker coming through, you know, the academy. Marcus Rashford.
Obi Martin.
We bought him in. That's the thing, you know what I mean? And Jesus Christ, we need to, you know, check his passport again and maybe, you know, turn the 8 into a 6 or something and make him 2 years older, so we can bring him in quicker. But yeah, look, I mean, it's goals are you know, a premium.
No,
I'll
say this. I mean, what Amorim just said about him is true, and it's true about a lot of our players. Is that we don't, and it came to the end of the game.
Are you thinking about it there, or are you gone?
I agree completely with everything he just said.
Yeah.
Right. Mark says Thursday will be perfect to get to get him to implement his style. Very excited for it. He also says we need more mobile players. D says Xerxes isn't going to adapt to this league. Go on, Chris. You kind of broke up there. Finish your point.
No, I just think that ultimately we don't. None of our players get into the box enough. We're not in position, and tactically we don't understand that, and it's a shame because these players. I mean, you're playing in the Premier League. You can't. That's a fundamental thing. You know,
yeah.
Where are you going to score goals from? 30 yards out or in the box?
Exactly. Nice place to finish it. Guys, I appreciate you coming on as always. I will be back, not tomorrow because I got training, but Wednesday, and then we've got the watch along on Thursday. So,
Bodo Glimt, right?
Bodo Glimt, yeah. And I have tickets for it for his first home game, but I obviously can't go because I've got kids and responsibilities and all that. So, if you know anyone who wants to buy him from me, they're more than welcome.
Can't you go out for milk and then come back the next day?
Do you know what? There is a lad I know, right, went out for milk on Saturday morning, didn't come home till Monday morning, and he came home. I remember meeting him on Sunday night in the nightclub, and he had the milk and the bread in his hand. That's the truth. Chunky, if you're watching, I'm calling you out. Right, no more before I get fucking lawsuits thrown against me. Boys, appreciate you coming on as always, and I'll chat to you during the week, alright?
You got it.
Appreciate it. Thanks a mil. Thanks everybody for watching as well, guys. Do smash a like on the video if you haven't done so already. Do hit that subscribe button as well. Like I said, I'll be back on Wednesday night with a United news show, so make sure you're tuning in for that. We'll be doing a bit of the match preview as well for the Bodo Glimt on Wednesday night, and then of course the watch along on Thursday. Thanks for watching, guys. Chat to you on Wednesday. Have a good night. Take it easy.